What's up, guys? Ryan Von Adler back here with another video for you, doing something a little different again today. I wanted to bring back tone clones since it's been over a year since I put a video out in that series. If you guys aren't familiar with it, if you've never seen an episode, highly encourage you to go back and check some of the ones I have on my channel focused on guitar. That's where today's little difference comes in. We're actually picking up a bass for the first time in this series. So if you aren't familiar with tone clones, the whole idea is I take my Kemper Profiler, I have the Stage Mark 1, and I use the guitars and gear that I have in my personal collection, sometimes like today, using my bandmates, my best friend Nikki, it's his bass, to do the videos and basically just see how close I can get to recreating famous iconic guitar tones and now bass tones, just using the gear that we have. So it's always kind of a fun challenge to see how close you can get, but it's also fun because between the two of us, we have, I think there's close to 40 different instruments, guitars and basses between us. So we've got plenty of stuff to choose from just for anything we want to try and copy or draw influence from. But Mike Dirnt is without a doubt one of my favorite musicians. I mean, Green Day is my favorite band. I've got the bunny tattooed on my bicep. That was my first tattoo. They were the band that got me into music. They're the reason I am who I am. They've never really stopped having an impact on me. Just every album you find something to really love. And Mike and his bass tone, his bass chops have always been one of those huge things for me where, I mean, obviously you have a song like Longview that has such an iconic bass line, and it's probably a huge reason why they exploded the way they did. But then even like you listen to songs like When I Come Around or listen to Welcome to Paradise, and it's so energetic and bouncing. And there's a really fun kind of like little story about when Green Day first got together where Mike was kind of a little apprehensive of playing bass at first, wanted to play guitar, if I remember correctly. And it was Billy Joe's older brother or sister maybe who said, but think about it like this, if you play bass, you can be the lead bassist. And I think that's like the best description is how he plays it, because he does play bass kind of like a guitarist in a lot of ways, like more of a melodic instrument than just strictly rhythmic. Kind of like Flea or like Duff McKagan, one of my other favorite bassists, where you got like Lemmy in there, where it's not just there holding down the low end, it's actually like, it has something to say. And I think he does a great job of just keeping things moving, keep them entertaining, and it's never goes out of fashion. Obviously I don't play bass a ton. I do a little bit. I'm mainly a guitarist, but I always like to hop on and play, a couple of the songs that I grew up listening to and whatnot. I'm a little bit sweaty on camera right now because I had to turn the AC off in our studio, so it's starting to bake a little bit. So if I'm glistening, that is why. Well, let's go over the gear that we're using for this. So starting with the bass. This is such a fun bass to play, and unfortunately, you can kind of see the screw ripped out of the wood, so now it's just stuck up. But everything storage, you just gotta be a little gentle with it. But this bass is, like I said, it belongs to Nikki, the bassist in my band Kelker Plan, also the bassist in Thrilling Brilliance. And he got this body originally as a Mike Dirnt P bass. So it's got the like the 50 style. You've got really no round over on the edges, more like a telly style body. We have a quarter pounder in the pickup for this guy, and then there's only a volume, no tone. We've got a little hole here where the output jack would usually go. And then one of the other things that makes this bass really special is the neck. So this is off of a Fender Mexican 51P bass, so it's still got the telly headstock, all maple, gorgeous, gorgeous neck. But the thing that I love about it is it's so thick. Like that's one of the things that Nicky's really adamant on is he loves really big necks on guitars or basses. Just kind of like a little bit of a wrestling match, and I'm kind of in that same camp. And this bass is just, I mean, it feels like a baseball bat, but it feels really comfortable in your hand. So it's just a war axe. Really, that's about it. Other than that, it's just standard Fender tuners on there. Pretty much what you see is what you get with P-Bass. It's ready just to wreak havoc and not have too many bells and whistles and whatnot. But then we're gonna go into the Kemper. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna show what's going on there. Okay, so for the Kemper profiles that I'm using, as always, I just get all of them either from the standard profiles that come with the Kemper, or I'll find them on the Rig Exchange. So if you guys want to recreate these or kind of use them as a starting point, they're always free and available to anybody that if you have a Kemper and have that login information set up with the Rig Exchange. But I'm using two different ones. So the first one, when I'm doing kind of like the dookie tones and stuff like that, is a little bit cleaner. And then when we're doing American Idiot newer stuff, there's a little more drive on it. Now, Mike's setup is really simple when you're looking at it live, just using basically a Fender P-Bass for the most part, now the Gibson Ripper as well, or Epiphone Ripper, into a Fender Bassman. Basically the new version of the Bassman that he kind of spurred them to work on, and has a signature now. And with that, there's not really a ton else going into it. In the studio, there's different amps, different cabinets, some DI mixed with like some actual recording with microphones and whatnot, so that's why you get such a thick tone. But basically with this, I just went through, compared the isolated bass tracks, used some match EQ to kind of help me adjust and really fine tune that Kemper profile. So that's why I've got like these graphic EQs on here, which is pretty common when I'm doing tone clones, just to help really like etch out that perfect tone. But for the clean one, we're starting, it is a Fender Bassman by TETR4 off the Rig Exchange. With this one, I didn't really have to do a ton. It's really just kind of tweaking the EQ and everything like that. Added a noise gate because I have a noise gate on absolutely everything. You want to make sure you don't have any static or anything coming through between songs. A little bit of compressor, just like you're going to throw on every bass. I'm not doing anything crazy. 2 threshold, a little bit of a faster attack. And then with this, I did throw on the Kemper drive. Now this is the Klon 1. Left the drive all the way down, and it's literally just stock. This does something, especially if you're going for like a mid-rangey bass tone or guitar tone, it just makes everything sound great. In the amplifier, like the actual head section, really I'm just dropping that bass down a little bit, giving it a little bit of gain, and then with everything down here, play with it to taste. I really like messing around with the tube shape and the tube bias because you can get really subtle kind of changes in just how the amp responds. Tube shape, you're basically going from like a 6L6 over to like an EL34 sort of situation, like British versus American. So you can kind of go from almost like a Marshall to more of like a Mesa sort of tone there sometimes. And then really the cabinet, didn't touch that. Graphic EQ, this is probably the most important part of really tying this together. So if you want to copy these settings, the main thing is there's a pretty decent amount of mid-range in there, just the way Mike played, especially in the early days when it's just guitar, bass, drums. He was filling out a lot of that would typically be done by like a rhythm guitarist in a lot of bands. And then that's pretty much it for this one. When we go on to the American Idiot tone, this one is going to be obviously a little bit dirtier. We've got still a Fender Bassman, but this one is going to be by Daniel Rigler. Again, I just found that on the Rig Exchange. And a lot of the time I'll just search for rigs that have like the highest crowd rating and then kind of figure out which tone is the most similar to what I'm looking for as a starting point, if you guys ever want to try these things. And with this one, again, noise gate, set that threshold fairly high because it was getting kind of noisy. I've got the Kemper drive on here. I actually didn't use this one. It didn't sound as good with like the overdriven amp because a lot of Mike's overdrive is literally just from turning the gain up on the amp. So it's all tube driven. So with this, again, really not touching a ton of the EQ. I just turned the gain up a little bit. Again, playing around with the tube shape and the tube bias, but just a little bit, and kind of just trust your ears. It doesn't matter what the number says. Didn't touch the cabinet. And then again, most important part, looking at the graphic EQ, we are boosting a little bit in the low end, and then I'm cutting a little bit here at 250 and 500, and then we're boosting a little bit at 2K and 8K. Nothing super crazy in there. It's not surgical. The easiest way I can say, if you guys like feel like you're getting close but it's missing something, is just open GarageBand or Logic, and there is an EQ in there. It's a plugin called Match EQ, and basically you can have it listen to what you record. So, you know, your bass track, and then you put in a reference track. In this case, I was using just the isolated bass that I was trying to target. And then from there, it will basically show you what EQ moves you need to make it sound like that reference track. And then from there, I just go back into the Kemper Profiler, into the graphic EQ, and then adjust that until it sounds right. So it's a little bit of like back and forth, but once you get the system down and you have everything open, it's fairly easy. So just to play through kind of what this tone sounds like. Definitely a lot fuzzier, a lot dirtier, but it's still nothing crazy. It's not full on Motorhead or anything like that. It's just overdriven bass, and it kind of fills in everything, adds a little more energy when you are, you know, whether it's playing live or on a track like this. I was using Holiday as the reference for that, so definitely a little bit more of a kind of pumping, like aggressive bass tone in there. But yeah, that pretty much does it for all of this. I think when it comes to bass, there's not a ton of effects for the most part, so they're a little bit easier. You get, you know, kind of your basic tones. This case I only had 2. I'm curious what you guys kind of thought. First off, just if you want to see more bass videos, kind of expanding tone clones still, or if you think I should just go back to guitar. And as always, kind of let me know how close you think I got down in the comments section. Just keep in mind, like when you listen to records, sometimes they are deceiving. So it might sound like, oh, the bass sounds thicker, but it's because there's all these other things going on, right? It might be the guitar is reinforcing it. So sometimes when you actually listen to just the source material, it might sound more trebly than you're used to, or it might sound like it's more cut in the mids, or whatever it may be. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.